Hello, and welcome to No Such Thing as a Bad Movie podcast. I'm April Itmansky, and I'm here today with
Justin the Clue
and Colin Cunningham.
And this week we went to Carpenter Town.
Whoa!
John Carpenter Town.
Village of the Damned.
To be specific.
Ghosts of Mars, John Carpenter.
Oh, I wish.
Yeah.
That movie's been banned on this podcast, I've been told.
All right.
Someday maybe we'll get to it. Yeah.
All right,
yeah,
we'll do it.
Like,
So, are you guys big John Carpenter fans?
I love John Carpenter.
Me too.
He's one of my favorite directors.
I haven't had the chance to see all of his older movies. I've seen a lot of them, and all of them I either absolutely loved or really, really, really liked. And I haven't really ventured into the 90s Carpenter yet. I loved In the Mouth of Madness, which I think was 92.
Yeah, I'm curious to know, like, I think Colin's probably seen all of his movies. Do you think that he's a director that, like, when he's out of the time that he started, his style just cannot be applied to the projects that he was doing? I mean, the last one was probably, like you said, In the Mouth of Madness.
Yeah, that was his last
great movie.
It's not. I wouldn't say it's a fucking amazing, fantastic movie, but I really like it.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
I have a feeling, some sorcerer at some point, like, imbued him with powers, and he's like, "You'll be an amazing director, but only in the 80s,"
or even like the 70s.
And late 70s.
Like Halloween. That was on the sort of cusp. But I think it's just his style. He didn't evolve the style over the years.
Anarchic.
And I think it's so perfectly fitted for the 80s that once you go out of that decade and, other movies like styles change, he didn't really evolve with it.
He's tried, though, but I think that's one of the big issues is that he can't, or he hasn't found a way to express what he wants through the evolution of new styles. Because if you look at something like Ghost of Mars, that's when he was like, you know what I love? Fades. And it's like, okay, that's what kids do, right? Fades? There are so many fades in Ghost of Mars. And there's another movie, is it vampires that are like crazy, like cutaways that are really fast?
Yeah.
It's one of those, like, Ghost of Mars has. And that's like, John Carpenter wasn't an old man then, but it feels like an old man being like, what are the kids doing these days? Let's try it out.
Yeah.
I have a feeling metal. Young April's like, yeah.
Speaking of new metal, oh man, this soundtrack.
It's not new metal, it's alternative grunge rock that's in this movie.
April knew all of the bands that were playing, and then the end credits, like, man, this sounds like Rob Zombie. It was a White Zombie. They have the Butthole Surfers. They got Tool.
Tori Amos.
Is Escape from L.A. one of his most disliked movies?
I think because it's a sequel to a very beloved movie. Like Escape from New York, I don't think. It's not... I love the movie. It's not one of my favorite John Carpenter.
I was going to say the same thing.
I love Snake Plissken.
A little bit boring.
It's pretty dull.
Well, I actually thought the same thing because I only saw it maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, and it had been built up a lot. Like, a lot of people consider it one of their favorite John Carpenter movies. Like, my dad loves it, so I borrowed his Blu-ray, and I was kind of like, well, it's good, but like, it didn't, to me, have the fun energy of like They Live or like his later movies, Big Trouble in Little China. Oh my God, that's such a fun movie.
Yeah.
Well, Escape from New York, it was a movie that had like a really low budget, and so he did have to be like a style over substance things that like you can anchor it on Kurt Russell just looking cool.
He's awesome.
He not really doing anything.
Yeah, he's doing his best Clint Eastwood impression though.
He is fantastic in that movie,
He's
and
great.
he is great in this movie too, but it kind of, I don't even know, this movie is not a good movie, but I would consider it a very enjoyable bad movie.
It's very entertaining.
Yes.
I remember I can see, people who are fans of Escape from New York going to see this movie and expecting
so pissed
the same type of movie. I can see how they would just fucking hate it. I saw this movie twice in the theaters. I don't think it was because, obviously I was kind of aware of, terrible special effects and kind of how bad the movie was, I guess, in general, or how it was sort of just like a remake of the first one. But yeah, I could see how people would be pissed.
But, watching it I think now, away from that.
Oh, for sure.
All this, like, you can enjoy it in a different way.
Yeah.
That it's Carpenter updating his aesthetics of Escape from New York to just represent like the 90s version of that.
Yeah.
And I think that he is acutely aware of what he's doing.
It's very self-aware.
So like Escape from New York, they wanted a sequel almost instantly after it came out. Like for years and years, like Carpenter make one, and there's like a lot of drafts floating around. There's almost like a clone Snake Plissken that he fights at the end of the movie.
Oh God!
And this is one that was actually written by him and Deborah Hill.
Oh, okay.
So this is like, an approximation of what they would have wanted to do if someone's holding a gun to their head and they're like, you got to make another Escape From wherever movie.
Yeah.
And he had so much fun making this movie that they talked for a long time to make a sequel. And we get to
Escape from Earth. Yeah.
And that like Kurt Russell like had a deal with the studio and he was going to push to make Escape from Earth and to bring John Carpenter along as well.
Yeah.
But
whatever.
Escape from L.A. was a big financial failure.
Yeah, it cost $50, which was shocking to me. Most of it must have went to Kurt Russell or something.
$58 million, that is.
The effects in this movie, the CGI, this is like the 96?
96, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, wait. When did Independence Day come out? Was that before?
I think it was like 97?
Yeah, around there.
Was it around the same time? Something like that. And that had $75 million budget. And yeah, when you look at this movie, the 90s were a weird time for CGI.
Yeah.
It was like they weren't quite good enough yet, but because they were cool and new, everybody wanted to use them.
Morphs, man!
Yeah,
Let's get
exactly.
some morphs!
Yeah, it's almost like it was relying on this new technology way too much, where there were things that they could have done practically, but they just did so much stuff CG.
Why was that submarine? It's just like a lock-off wide shot of him getting into this like submarine. You
So,
make a prop or something?
I mean, for most people that did CGI in their movies in the 90s, they'll tell you why it's CGI, and that's because they spoke to a supervisor and said, oh, I can do that.
Yeah,
and then
sure.
they got it, and they didn't do it, and it was too late, and that had to go into the movie.
Yeah, or even, if the director, if that's not their bag, you know what I mean? Some people...
Well, like Escape from L.A. starts with a CGI building explode, and you're like, ugh, terrible. But then it cuts to the L.A. Expressway collapsing, and it's a miniature, and you're like, why don't you just do that with the building as well?
Yeah, it was like showing the earthquake in L.A., and it's like looking up. It's shot looking up the buildings, and it has some very CGI-looking kind of glass
windows
breaks. Yeah, it's very strange.
Everything seemed to be matted on something else, and it didn't match the background.
Yeah.
There was what is that, comping?
Compositing.
Compositing issue.
I'd have to say, though, I did enjoy that there were like matte paintings that they did, that they obviously comped them in, as opposed to just doing them all CG, like the streets and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. And you'd know it. You know,
when you see it, you're like, yes.
Yeah, because it's a wide lock-off. They would usually be just doing a digital zoom or pull-outs or something like that.
And there was a musical sting.
Every
every time a matte painting was shown.
Oh, really?
It's like this piano. Like,
look at it. Look how cool it is.
It's like, whoa.
So this film starts with Cliff Robertson, everybody's favorite, Uncle Ben, as the president.
With great power, Snake, comes great
Is
responsibility.
a Donald Trump-like,
for.
or probably more, not a Donald Trump, he's more of Mike Pence-like.
Yeah,
a
he's
ruler of...
religious nut job.
Yeah, of the United States, who I kept expecting this movie to reveal that like the United States caused the earthquakes that destroyed LA, and it weirdly didn't come up because even the president says the LA is going to be destroyed, and then there's earthquakes that happen.
He's like, it's the modern day Gomorrah.
Yeah.
That was weird.
I feel like maybe John Carpenter, that was in a version of the script, kind of like Starship Troopers, the fact that like the meteorite that hit the Earth was sent by the Earth itself, and Paul Verhoeven was like, I didn't make that clear enough, but that's what what's supposed to.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, that first meteorite that hits the Earth and that causes Casper Van Dien to like go and join the army and stuff like that. Yeah, that was Earth that sent that themselves. And there's like little hints of it throughout the movie.
What?
Yes. I mean, that happens all the time. I was reading a history book recently, and the Japanese-Chinese War started when the Japanese blew up their own base and blamed it on the Chinese.
Really?
It's like a common war tactic.
Yeah, so you get, people rallying
against the enemies.
Yeah. Interesting.
I mean, yes.
9/11 was an inside job.
Jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams, man.
I feel like that should be Jesse Ventura saying that.
Or Robert Orci?
Oh, God, is he a truther?
Oh, yeah. That's all. I'd like to point Star Trek Into Darkness is a truther movie because it's about...
That's right.
Yeah, you
like
didn't know
the
that?
evil Federation.
Was in the Federation.
Wants to militarize Starfleet.
Here's the thing. Governments are just, stupid on themselves.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to have interior conspiracies when they can just be outwardly evil and nobody cares.
Exactly.
So Cliff Robertson and his good pal Stacy Keach.
Yeah, Stacy
sporting
Keach.
a ponytail.
I was gonna say, I wrote in my notes did I call him the Keachster?
If you recall, we reviewed Body Bags on the Patreon, and Stacy Keach is in that. And John Carpenter directed that segment,
did direct that
right?
segment,
Okay.
It involves Stacy Keach really wanting hair, and he gets hair that ends up eating his brain.
Hey, spoiler! They have to listen to our Patreon and or watch the movie.
But look, he has a ponytail in this, a little tiny one.
Lee Van Cleef, I think, had a ponytail in the first one, didn't he?
Did he? I don't
think
remember.
He had a little tiny ponytail at the back. I
In
think
the future, they're bigger.
I have to go back.
Escape from Earth would be like a man bun.
I have to go back and rewatch it. But Stacy Keach, his intro, he's like sitting at his desk, and he's like, he's got a little cactus on his desk, and he makes a point.
Yeah.
He's talking to Michelle Forbes from Star Trek, Ensign Rowe.
Ensign Rowe from
That's
Star
where
Trek.
I knew her
Yeah.
from. I was looking at her credits, and I'm like, where do I know her from?
Next Generation.
And yeah, he's like spritzing the cactus with his little spray bottle. Never does it again, but
What is that?
What?
He's just wandering
It's
it.
cactus.
But that's just a little character hint.
Yeah, a little character trait.
Maybe
Just
you'll-
like the way that Nick Cage eats those jelly beans in Ghost Rider. That's a movie we should do on this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
The original Ghost Rider.
or the sequel. I've never seen the sequel.
It is not good.
Okay.
I have a really
yeah.
funny story about it. I'll tell you off mic about seeing it for the first time in theaters.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's kind of like Escape from New York. I mean, there's a lot of echoes.
Kind of.
Yeah, exactly
It's
like it.
almost like
Structurally
scene
the
for
same.
scene. Yeah, exactly. The same things happen.
And so Snake Plissken shows up.
The best.
Yeah, and he, I think he hurt his throat because he's whispering the entire time.
No, man, that's just how he talks.
But at the beginning specifically, he's like, "Come, Snake."
I actually would have wouldn't that be kind of funny if they
like-
were like, I hurt my throat.
Yeah, he's like, "Excuse me, yeah, my real voice."
The thing is, like, I know what Kurt Russell sounds like, and he never sounds like Kurt Russell at all in the movie. He
No.
sticks to
He's doing his
this
Clint Eastwood
voice.
version.
Yeah,
and it works.
April said, "Is there any point in the movie where he's required to yell?" And I said,
And then
"No."
he said, no, not even when they're on hang gliders and they're talking to each other
Yeah.
in the air, like
Snake
meters
doesn't yell.
apart.
He has
doesn't
so
have to.
good vocal control that like he just projects his voice
Yeah.
and makes it sound like a whisper.
It's very bassy in person, so like it carries.
He, like shakes the walls.
It's really funny because so he's introduced. He comes out of the van and he's wearing the exact same outfit that he did in Escape from New York. And April said, "Wouldn't he be dirtier?"
It's like The Simpsons. He had like a closet full of them. It's just all those like leather suits.
yeah. Like,
Yeah,
is this
apparently,
supposed to be 15 years later in the movie, too? World? Like
yes.
the movie world?
Because it said now
The Escape
2000.
World.
Yeah.
what year it
Escape
was.
verse.
Yeah, Escape Verse, the Escape franchise.
Yeah.
The cinematic
We lock
universe.
Kurt Russell in the zoo. Will he be able to escape the zoo?
Kurt Russell, he said he kept the costume from Escape from New York, so he sort of had it in his closet all these years.
Do you think like Goldie Hawn's like, put it
Oh,
on,
totally,
Kurt?
totally.
Definitely.
Oh,
And the eye
man.
patch, he's like, got no depth perception.
I actually went as Snake Plissken for Halloween one year.
What year?
It was after Escape from L.A. came out.
You're like,
I
gotta
love-
keep this Escape
yeah,
Verse
man.
train running.
He
I
made
was
his
telling
own
April, I
costume.
still have the poster. I used to have the Escape from L.A. poster hanging above my desk at work.
Ooh, wow. So
It
you
was
were a big
amazing.
Escape from LA fan.
Yeah, a bigger like Snake Plissken fan. I think.
Okay, so you just love Snake.
I
so
love
were you
Snake.
so angry when that video game didn't come out in 2004? I think it was called Snake Plissken Escapes. I was looking at videos of it today. They got pretty far in it, it looked like.
I never seen it.
No, you haven't seen it? It
No.
was just like the people who made Dead to Rights, which was a Max Payne ripoff, was like, he has a dog.
Oh, okay.
That's what it's notable for. So it was that model, like, third-person shooter. It's weird that Snake Plissken, like, they've never been able to... I mean, I'm not aware of, like, tons of comics that he's been in.
I
Or
wanna
like,
say there-
novelizations.
I want to say there was a comic,
There was.
or I think it just came out.
Or I think it came out when the Escape from New York DVD did, because I remember it was like a little insert inside of it. There was a little comic book.
okay. It was like
Well,
a
I thought
prequel
that,
or something.
like, there's a character named Solid Snake. In,
Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, isn't that kind of based on
It
Snake?
is based
like a
on,
tribute,
yeah, it's
yeah.
a tribute to
So
it.
there you go.
He has an eye patch too, doesn't he? Solid Snake does?
Yeah, he does at one point.
Oh, when he's older. I don't know. I've never played the Metal
think
Gear
so.
games. I hear they're very confusing.
They're very wordy.
I haven't either.
If you like seeing close-ups of characters talking,
I do love
endlessly-
cutscenes.
Oh,
do you think
you're
I'll
gonna-
be able to deliver on that?
It's like a cutscene with some gameplay peppered in.
But I only play the Ryu Kitamura GameCube version remake of Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes that has new cinematics.
I have no. That's one of those franchises that I have no interest in. I'm
do.
sure they're cool.
But I can't give 70 hours to play them.
I can't step in at this point
Yeah.
because I would just be overwhelmed.
the later games looked good. There's
Yeah.
like unicorn horses or something. There's like fire horses. I saw the Hideo.
I do love
the
bronies. Wait, not bronies. Ponies.
Ponies. The Hideo Kojima one is the one I'm talking about.
I think it was the last one. I think he did them all.
He did them all. He was fired from the fourth one.
Konami.
I believe. Yeah. Konami fired him.
Yeah, that was like and then now he did Death Stranding. He started his own company. Yeah, he was like a superstar in the game development world, but I don't think he got along with Konami or whatever.
And you can understand like something like Escape from New York, like the aesthetics. People talk about it, of its style, like Robert Rodriguez, El Mariachi. He has the same gun that Snake Plissken has.
That's
machine gun.
That's right.
It kind of became probably iconic in a lot of ways. I'm still kind of surprised that it took 15 years to make a sequel.
John Carpenter didn't want to make one.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, he's like, you guys can write scripts in development, and if there's one that I like, I'll make it. And they just couldn't get one that everybody would agree on.
Yeah.
From what I've been able to.
I wonder what I think. Like Kurt Russell was pretty hot at the time. Like Stargate came out. He was kind of
Captain Ron.
Yeah.
Or is it Overboard? One of his boat-based comedies.
he's in both of those.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, no.
Isn't Captain Ron? He has an eye patch, doesn't he?
I think it's on the other eye.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So you can and he's got like braids, braids and beads in his hair.
So Kurt Russell was probably hot, and they're like, all right, let's do it. $50 million.
Got some box office clout. Like, let's get it done. Yeah, it made back $25 million.
That's so painful. Why do you think it did so badly?
I don't know. And I think, well, it's probably just a movie for no one. Like Escape from New York, if that came out today, I don't know who would go see that. Like,
but the thing about Escape from L.A. is that like you don't need to have seen Escape from New York.
No,
it's probably better if you haven't.
Nobody knows that, though.
I think it was judging by that trailer, which was really great. I think it was marketed to fans of the original, but because it's so long ago, the fans of the original, like you saw it, Colin, and saw it, and were probably disappointed. But it didn't seem to have like this like curb appeal for that everyone has to like it that movies now have. Like soft reboots. Those are designed, I think, to please everybody because it's a reboot. It's introducing people to this thing, but it's also remember this thing that the other people know. And this kind of didn't do either. It was kind of like Gremlins 2, where it's like referencing the original, but also doing the same thing, but also much goofier and a lot worse.
It's much more of like almost like a satire.
Almost.
It's that Gremlins 2 thing, which is like John Carpenter doesn't want to make this movie, so he's kind of make a joke out of it.
Yeah, okay,
he's gonna do whatever he wants it.
When you said Gremlins 2, I'm like, okay, it's not as wacky and as inventive as and crazy, but it's John Carpenter's version of that.
Gremlins 2.
He's very kind of like subdued and like he doesn't have that kind of inspired zaniness that Joe Dante has.
But there is that kind of like winking and just like going in whatever directions that he wants.
Kind of,
watching Escape from L.A., like Snake Plissken meets Stacy Keach, they're like, instead of a bomb, this time you have a virus that somebody scratched you with.
Yeah, and even
Same
like
thing.
Snake Plissken's like, I've heard this before. Blah blah blah.
What is that? The 22 Jump Street, where it's like just jokes about sequels over and over and over again.
And it's very similar, the plot.
Yeah, and even when he shows up, Michelle Forbes is like, oh, that's Snake Plissken. Oh, he looks very retro.
That's right.
Let's get him a new jacket. That's a big duster.
Taller. Yeah, he's like, I don't want to wear this.
I thought you'd be taller.
They say that a whole bunch of times.
Yeah, because in the first one, it's like, I thought you were dead.
I thought you were dead. Yeah, and so instead of a hang glider, they put him. They put him in a hang glider. They put him in a submarine.
This submarine. Well, first of all, when they sort of are giving him the lowdown, this is the plot. It's like the president's daughter has stolen this sort of device that they need.
It's weird. It's the president again.
Yeah, I know. It's very weird.
Only it's the president's daughter, and this time she's shacking up with Jose
Cuervo
Jones.
Che Guevara.
Che Guevara.
Yeah, there you go.
Che
That's who it
Guevara
is. Those
Cuervo.
teens don't know their own politics and the real world implications.
But it's like they're giving him the lowdown. Here's the mission. You've got 9 hours or something. They've infected him with some virus, and then so they're showing the president's daughter. She's doing like this press release. I'm stealing this device, blah blah blah. And then Michelle Forbes is like, she goes, "We've scanned this into VR." and then all of a sudden Snake, he's looking around, he's in the world.
Love
he's
that.
But it's like, why?
And that never came up again either.
No, it's so weird.
It was just them flexing, like, look what we can do, I guess.
Whoa.
But it was just bizarre.
That was John Carpenter. He's like, what are the kids like? VR.
Hey, you seen that? What was the movie that we watched that had VR in it with Michael Douglas?
Oh, Disclosure.
Disclosure. Yes,
the latest thing.
That Disclosure match. Did you hear how big Disclosure was?
Well, John Carpenter, he's an avid gamer, so he probably knows all that.
Has he always been an avid gamer? Has that been
Apparently,
yeah.
Yeah. So
what about doobies? Has he been loving those?
I bet he has. I have a feeling that's all he does. He goes home and he smokes a J.
He's admitted that's all he does. He smokes a J. He sits back in a chair, puts his hand out, and puts a check in it.
Collects $1 million
He should
checks
not be
for all his
smoking
remakes.
anymore.
Why not?
He quit cigarettes.
Okay.
Oh,
good,
he did?
good.
Yeah.
Only edibles, man.
Yeah.
Well, I know this is changing the subject a little, but remember when we all saw John Carpenter in concert?
So
you were
good.
there, right,
Oh,
Justin?
I was there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wasn't at the rich people place like you guys in the balcony.
We were
We
sitting-
were with the peasants on the bottom.
Yeah, we're old. We need to sit down during
With the
concerts.
riffraff.
I was jealous because I love sitting down during concerts.
Oh.
That's my greatest joy.
That was so good.
It was a great show. John Carpenter was awesome, but just seeing him in person, like he's a very old man.
Was it him or was it a puppet of him? It
looked like a puppet. It could have been
They
some-
put sunglasses
Yeah.
on. You can never get the eyes right, and they're like spinning them around and stuff like that.
It was like some Stan Winston creation. Or maybe it was like Tupac. It was like a hologram.
like a lookalike of John Carpenter.
But
It could have been.
he's a very, very talented musical artist, and I love his scores.
Oh, so
yeah,
good.
they're so good. And I'm so happy that he's had this resurgence.
Well, he said it's like the happiest he's been in decades, like
It is
going
like-
out and doing the concerts.
Of course, he's sort of, I don't know. Obviously, he's not going to get a directing gig anytime soon.
Probably not.
But it's just awesome. This new phase of his career is
Yeah.
just so.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for him.
And he's
It's
being
great.
celebrated, and the
Absolutely.
younger people are probably discovering his music.
For
and
sure.
His movie themes are all very like
Poppy.
yeah,
They got drive
They,
to
they,
them.
they have this kind of quality to them that you can tell that he wrote it, which is something that his movies have. Yep. Although I get it, got that less in this movie, and I think in the 90s and then later maybe his style just didn't translate.
Yeah, well,
He's
he was
losing his
anymore.
powers the further he gets away from the 80s.
I mean,
Yeah.
I love Ghosts of Mars, and for
I
two
gotta see
reasons.
Said nobody ever.
For two reasons. One is that it's classic John Carpenter. He's not rewriting. It's just like that. I can't remember what the Howard Hawks movie is. What is the one that?
Is it like Rio Bravo?
Rio Bravo, because there's another one called like El Diablo. It's the same
Rio
movie
Bravo,
twice.
Rio.
Yeah, Rio Bravo's right.
Yeah, okay.
And he's just doing Rio Bravo, but it's on Mars,
Right.
and it's with like I guess Marilyn Manson lookalikes.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because they're all monsters and stuff like that.
He always says like
He
you know,
loves
he's
nu metal.
He's a Western fanatic.
Yes.
And
Never made an actual straight Western.
this one
Yeah.
embraces the
Western.
Western tropes so much.
Escape from L.A.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
He did write a Western that nobody ever talks about. That
Really?
he wrote with Nick Castle called, I think it was called El Dorado, and it was not directed by him, but it was an HBO movie, and it starred Louis Gossett Jr. and
Really?
the guy from ER that stars in like the 90s with the bald guy. I don't remember what his name is.
Oh, Hector.
No, it's not Hector. It's something else.
Hector Alonso.
No, it's like Anthony. I don't know.
Anthony
I don't know
Edwards?
ER.
No, it's not Anthony Edwards. I watch this with my mom every time she comes.
George Clooney. Was he
Yeah,
on
George
ER?
Clooney, yeah. But so he did get to write one. I wonder if he was meaning to direct it, or if John Carpenter was like, I feel like I've made my Western. Like,
For sure.
Assault on Precinct 13 is my Western.
Yeah.
Just I've never had horses in any of my movies.
This one, he
There's
does in this
there's
one.
in
Oh, he
Escape
does in
from
this
LA.
one, does he?
Yeah.
There's just one.
Oh, just
It
one.
was so funny. So, well, first of all, like he really leans into the Western. So Snake, he gets the guns, the dual guns. He's like a gunslinger. Snake's theme song,
Yeah.
which we've never had before, but this one has got like a harmonica. It's got this twangy guitar.
Yeah. And we also got him fighting against sharks, the classic Western trope, because he gets in his submarine and this like CG thing that you could render in like a day now.
This
But,
thing, it looks like I almost thought it was intentional,
like shitty looking thing
to kind of make fun of these like theme park rides, or you go and you sit in a seat and it kind of rocks back and forth. And Star Tours or something.
Looked like a ride.
Yeah, it was really funny. And then the shark comes up to bite it, and then he passes Universal Studios.
Yeah.
This looks like video games look better than this. Like,
yes,
this
they
is
do.
So bad.
Even back then.
Yeah, even back then. I remember in the theater.
You are the seventh guest.
Yeah.
I'm in the game.
I remember I took my friend. When I worked in visual effects, and we went to see this.
Oh, so you weren't like blown away? You're like, whoa, they can do this on the big
No,
screen.
at the time, I just remember my friend going, yeesh.
Not surprising.
Yeah, this is some of the worst CG you'll ever see. Like,
it's
really bad.
But with a $50 million budget, he gets to build out these giant sets that they're like driving around.
Yeah.
He walks into the city, the classic like 90s post-apocalyptic place where everybody's kind of getting in his way. I like that there was a big sign that said no condos.
I didn't see that. But yeah, a lot of work clearly went into that stuff. And this movie has a lot in common with a movie we watched last week, Double Dragon.
Oh, yeah. Are you talking about Jeff Amata and Al Leong showing up?
But also just that setting is very reminiscent. And also there's like gangs that are like, it's like this is this gang.
They have
and
the
this
Saigon
is
Shadows.
Gang. Yeah,
They have
that's right.
The Korean dragons.
Yeah, there's like a kiddie gang that shows up and they have like machine guns and they jump in their hot rod and drive
I think
off.
I missed that. That must have been where Wyatt Russell was, because apparently he's in this movie somewhere.
Yeah, apparently he plays like an orphan boy.
Oh no, you're talking about the guys in the kids in the car.
Yeah, kids in the car. Yeah,
in the grease car. So April said, because they show up like the famous like culverts in L.A. And April said, "Hey, this is where they shot that scene from Grease."
I was just joking. I didn't mean literally. I thought it just looked like it.
And then the kids literally get into this like 19
car. Yeah,
it's like got flames on it. It's like this 1950s.
But
cruiser.
also, the guy who ended up being the big monster in Double Dragon is in this movie.
Oh, is he?
He cuts the guy's head off in the basketball scene.
Oh yeah.
And he looks right at camera and he goes, "Ah!"
So just by coincidence. Yeah.
So Snake Plissken walks into this devastated LA. Seems pretty good. Everybody's having fun.
Yeah, it's like, you
got punk
no
rockers.
rules.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. They kind of like set it up later that I guess Cliff Robertson is like this religious fanatic. So the entirety of the United States.
Yeah,
is
no
now,
sex unless you're married, no drinking, no alcohol.
Yeah, no cigarettes,
smoking.
no red meat,
meat.
like all this sort of stuff. So it sounds like LA
There
is.
should have been a great scene of like Cliff Robertson like eating red meat,
Yes.
like smoking, because you know that's exactly what John Carpenter is alluding to.
Oh, for sure. It's
Yeah.
like, do as I say, not
Now what
as
as I do. And Snake Plissken's first enemy, Colin pointed out, is Robert Carradine from the Revenge of the Nerds
This
films.
blew me away. I didn't know when I was watching it, but I looked. It's like lots of well-known actors in this, but it's Robert Carradine, the star of Revenge of the Nerds, plays a skinhead that Snake Plissken meets.
And he throws knives.
Yeah, this is awesome. He's like, because Snake is like hunting down. It was like a team sent in before him, so he's got a tracking marker, and he finds this dead body that Robert Carradine's throwing knives into. He's using him as target practice, and then Snake is leaving. Robert Carradine's trying to talk to him, and he's like, "Hey man, listen to me.
Yeah,
hey,
turn
man."
around.
And Snake's walking down. This is a really cool scene.
Yeah,
I
they
love
turn
that.
around.
He just shoots him and just continues walking.
And his gun is comically large. It's humongous.
Snake Plissken's dick was cut off in the Fourth World War. That's canon.
He unfortunately he loses that gun at some
That's why I
point.
whisper all the time. My testicles, if comedies have taught me anything.
Does that talk like that?
Yeah.
I was telling April that I went to a company Christmas party when this came out as Snake Plissken.
Wait, so were you just wearing your Snake Plissken costume like 24/7?
all
Now,
the
this is for a
time.
Halloween party, right? Or did you
No,
say
it's a Christmas party.
Did I say Christmas party?
You did.
Oh my
So
god!
I was like, that's why I was like, you're just wearing the costume.
I meant Halloween. Halloween.
It's me, Colin. Or call me Snake.
Well, it's funny. So I got dressed up. My friend was picking me up to take me to the thing, and I was walking down the stairs, and my mom saw me, and she said, "Oh, hello." She thought I was somebody else.
such a good costume?
Did you have long hair at this point? Did you have that Kurt Russell.
Yeah, I was like, "Mom, it's me." She's like, "Oh my god, I didn't know it was
He
you."
got a wig.
Mom, it's me.
Yeah, Mom, call me Snake.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was the 1980s costume. Like, so it had his shirt that he wears under the brown leather jacket. It's sleeveless, and then it has like zippers across the shoulders. So I cut the sleeves off a black t-shirt and I actually sewed zippers onto the shoulder.
Man.
It was like down to, and I showed up at the party.
And you're like, Merry Christmas.
And I showed up at the party in handcuffs. My friend walked me in.
Oh
I
my God.
And I had
You really
the
went all out.
biker boots with like the metal plate on the front that I actually bought at a Tech War costume sale.
Tech War, the
Yeah.
classic William Shatner film.
Yeah.
That you worked on, Colin.
TV show.
Everybody,
TV
like,
show.
when Colin walked in, they're like, oh man, your costume's so good. And then when they turned around, they were like rolling their eyes.
I can't believe that you did like a cosplay level Halloween costume.
Yeah.
That's like an anti-Colin
I
sentiment.
can't get you to wear a costume anymore.
You know what? Because
too
he
much
did
work.
the best. It's
Yeah.
all, everything is downhill from then on.
It's true. What
Yeah,
can you do now?
Snake Plissken again.
yeah.
It took me months though to make that costume.
I find that's the fun
had to
thing I
save my
find
milk
about
money.
Yeah, it was like
dressing up. You know,
Sewing on zippers, it takes a lot of work.
I know.
Had to learn how to use a sewing machine.
So the first action scene of Escape from L.A. is great, where like Snake has to fight his way up through a bunch of cars.
Oh, the motorcycle
motorcycles.
chase.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he sees Cuervo Jones going by, and he's kind of like got this little nod to the Duke of New York in the first one, was Isaac Hayes, who had chandeliers on the front of his
That's
car.
right, yeah.
And Cuervo Jones has like a disco ball on the back of his car.
Doll
doll head stuck
Yeah,
to it.
what's with those doll heads?
So
Every doll he's killed.
Yeah, this
guess.
is like a very Western scene because he steals one of the guy's motorbikes and he's driving up, but then all of a sudden he's like,
It gets knocked off.
he just cuts to a guy that looks like a Mexican bandito on a horse, and I burst out laughing.
And there's like a really weird part of this chase where the motorcycle gets on the back of a truck and it's horrible CGI.
Seamless CG, you mean?
This shot was played up in the trailers like it was the greatest thing.
It was like Jet Li catching those two motorbikes in
Yeah.
the one, where it's like, look how cool this is.
That was like the money shot in the trailer, and it looks so bad. It's like this green screen. Obviously,
Yeah.
they shot him on like a rig or something.
yeah,
It just
yeah.
does not work. He jumps into the back of like a pickup truck. Or
Yeah, and
something.
then he jumps on the top. It's actually more like a Mad Max chase, like you
Yeah.
feel, or Ghost Rider 2. You'll understand when you see it.
I can see this like being in a Western, you're jumping onto the stagecoach and like working your way up and blah, blah, blah.
But then he just gets knocked off.
Yeah.
And then he faces off against five guys where you get that classic Snake Plissken moment.
Which
Yeah.
was insane because he says, "Oh, how about what does he say? Let's do
play
this
Bangkok rules."
Bangkok rules."
Yeah, so it's like five of the guys, and then they all spread out, and then he says, all right, I'm going to throw this can up in the air. Nobody draws until it hits the ground.
These five guys have no incentive to not just shoot him.
April's like, why are they going along with
Have you
this?
ever watched any action movie?
Well,
The thing that runs the world, April, is pride.
Yeah.
That's all, and like
And
the illusion of
machismo.
honor. Yeah, and machismo.
and
So-
I can't remember if the original movie is like this, but this is a very episodic movie.
Yes.
It's just like jumping from place to place, and each section is only like 10 minutes long.
Kinda
if
meets new
that.
characters.
Yeah, so after this, he meets the girl who...
Valeria Golino from Hot Shots.
was she
Oh,
Hot
I
Shots?
don't know who that was.
Yeah.
I have seen a little bit of Hot Shots,
Wasn't
not the whole
Isabella?
thing.
No, she wasn't in Hot
No,
Shots.
that was Ishtar.
Oh, that was Ishtar. Yes, that's right. She's
Isabella-
good in Hot Shots. But it's
Valeria
no,
Golino.
yeah, but it's no Hot Shots 2. Sorry.
Part
Part
two.
Dude, the superior Hot Shots.
French Canadian.
That's the one I haven't seen.
It's a good one.
But yeah, so he meets her, and then they end up on this little side.
She's
mission.
hiding out in a bush.
Yeah,
And then
And then they just get knocked out.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
She says, "Get your own bush."
She says, if you're gonna make noise, get your own bush.
It's like a real Muppets gag.
Yeah, and so they end up in this plastic surgery place with a Bruce Campbell
Yeah, it's like the-
cameo.
Wait, I was going to say, with a Bruce Campbell. They broke him out of his packaging. It was a little deformed.
And I'm calling
Like-
this a cameo because he's barely in this
Oh,
movie.
it was all over the back of the VHS box, I remember. I'm like,
really?
yeah, Bruce Campbell! And
It's
then
such
he
a
shows
great
up in that one
scene.
scene. Yeah.
Yeah, that's at like the Beverly Hills Hotel, and then they're all like sort of tied up to a gurney or something, and she says, "Oh my God, it's all these
Plastic surgeons or something like
yeah,
that.
they're like plastic surgery addicts, and it's like their muscle is turned to jello, and they survive only by replacing all of their facial parts from time to time."
It's interesting, but it was just kind of like, well, who are these new wacky characters? This
Yeah.
whole movie is like that. We're just meeting all these wacky characters.
It's like real life, man.
It's good though, but I love like Bruce Campbell's look in this. So
Yeah.
it's like all of his nurses have all this sort of odd, weird plastic surgery, and he's sort of like prettified up, like he's got a cleft in his chin. He's got like
his eyebrows.
very feminine eyebrows.
I gotta tell you, if you didn't tell me it was him, I might not have known it was him.
You can can kind of see that.
You can kind of see it. His chin is
You
out
can't
there.
cover up that chin with prosthetics.
You're right. But
I forgot to mention that probably my favorite thing of this movie is it's John Carpenter's like. Well, okay, my favorite thing is later on, but I'll leave it to you guys.
The basketball scene.
Yeah, that's right. Is the fact that it's just him doing his James Bond movie,
right?
Like even more than the first one, where they're like, "You got this dart that you can like put in your mouth and shoot out if you ever need it."
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, that was a big like loadout scene where they kind of show him a table, and it's like, you got the gun, you got this, you got a hologram projector, and then for some reason his costume, like his coat, is fireproof.
Yeah, because he's like, "I don't want it," and they're like, "Well, you gotta wear it."
Yeah, his suit, but it's so funny.
Duster.
They give him new like boots and shirt, which also happens to be sleeveless, just like his previous shirt.
In the future, sleeves are outlawed.
Yeah, they are if you got arms like that.
I remember, I do like that, like, he is kind of old, so there's like a scene of him, like, putting his clothes on.
Yeah.
He's like, doesn't quite have a six-pack, but it's
Yeah.
just like, he's built.
Yeah, he's always been a pretty buff guy.
But like it's 15 years later.
is.
Like
I understand.
He gets older. He's not going to have the super trim body that he once
but
had.
didn't he do? When did Soldier come out? Was that?
Oh,
after
yeah,
this?
he's built in Soldier.
I think that was
That's like
jacked.
1999, I think, Soldier.
Yeah, he took a year off and worked out for a year solid.
From the Paul W.S. Anderson
Exactly.
movie.
And like,
Yeah.
oh no, why?
He committed.
And so, after that, he kind of just meets a bunch of more wacky characters. We didn't mention Steve Buscemi as a map salesman.
Yeah.
Nap to the stars, Eddie.
Yeah.
Probably the most goofy character in the movie. And then around this time, he goes to this big like football field, and I was like, hey, real set, not a matte painting, gigantic field. And I thought that looked cool. And then I was like, oh no, they're going to do the same thing they did in the first movie and have like a cage match.
That's what they're setting up.
Yeah.
And no, it's a
even
basketball
better.
game.
I mean, that wrrestling match in the first one's so lame.
Yeah, they're just sort of hitting each other.
Yeah.
I just
back and
remember
forth.
the movie kind of just stopped to had to do this wrestling thing, and I guess you could argue this movie does that too. But this does. I have in my notes. The basketball scene sucks.
I disagree.
It's so
Two thumbs
funny.
up.
It does the thing I hate. It slows down the film in post.
It is so like it's not out of place, but it is so
It
funny.
kind of is.
that he gets to. The only thing he doesn't do is dunk. I wish like the last one he like jumped
Oh,
up
yeah.
and was like, whoa.
It's like watching
slam dunk. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's kind of walking into the stadium and they're walking by all these sort of gladiator
like
battles.
these awesome fights going on.
And then watching Kurt Russell in like big leather boots, leather pants, and a leather shirt playing basketball.
you can tell when they got to the edit, they're like, we got to add suspense somehow. Because he's like,
Yeah.
you got to. And the rules are like pretty lenient because it's like you have 10 seconds to score a basket on either opposite ends. So like the first one, he just walks over, he just dunks it, or he does. I wish. He's like, ugh.
What's it called? A layup?
Yeah,
He should have
layup.
shattered the backboard.
Yeah, and then the second one, and then you hear like the baddies like, he's getting tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he isn't shot in the leg at this point, but he's starting to feel the effects of the virus, so he's all
is that
sweating.
what the assumption is supposed to be?
Yeah.
Well, this is when we realized that Snake Plissken is a Mary Sue because he's just good at everything. He can do a half court shot.
Yeah,
That's not something that anyone can do.
I don't even think he does that. It's not even a half court. It's like the other end.
I know,
It's
it's
like
like
other
the whole
end.
court.
Yeah, he just
like an over.
yeah.
Yeah.
He pulls like an Ellen Ripley from
Yes.
Alien
He
Resurrection.
doesn't do a
Yeah.
back. Oh, I wish he had turned around and just been like. Ugh.
He's just staring at Cuervo Jones.
Yeah. What you do when you're like a sore loser and you're playing basketball, you're like, I don't want to play anymore, and you just like throw it backwards.
Yeah. I mean, it goes probably without saying that we already talked about how good Snake Plissken is in this movie and Kurt Russell is in this movie. And like, it's worth watching the movie just to see him do these things.
And Kurt Russell's hair.
so that might be
gorgeous.
my favorite thing.
That guy is
Kurt
the
Russell's
best.
hair.
Yeah.
Best
And
hair in
the
Hollywood.
arms. No, I said, I like the eye patch too.
What if we learned that like Kurt Russell has always been bald?
Oh no, that would
He was in that Elvis movie.
that would just
And they
crush
just
me.
had to put a big Elvis wig on. Have anyone seen that? The TV
I have.
Elvis
The John Carpenter
movie?
one.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
He does a pretty decent Elvis, and the movie ends with like the very first, I think, use of bullet time.
Right.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, all the action stops, and then the camera continues to move around. Kurt Russell on stage performing as Elvis, but Kurt Russell had to hold still
Wow.
forever. You can see him kind of shaking at the end, like he's trying to hold.
And I
his
think that's a
pose.
movie that they didn't have the rights to any of Elvis's songs, right?
I don't
or
know.
was that a different one? Maybe. Who
Might have
knows?
been a different Elvis movie.
Yeah.
that Jimi Hendrix Maybe you're thinking of the Doors.
The Andre 3000 movie.
And
That
I don't
only
think they had
came
the
out
rights.
like 5 years ago.
Yeah, I don't think.
Oh, right. No.
Yeah, and I don't think they had the rights to any of Jimi Hendrix's songs. So I don't know.
Well, that's a different movie
Yeah, the
entirely.
different movie. That happens a lot. Like Selma, they couldn't use any of Martin Luther King's speeches.
That's right, because they're all
weird.
copywritten.
Yes.
Or something like that.
So they had to make up their own. So we skipped the part where Snake Plissken is faced with his most feared foe, the treadmill. Which
Oh,
he has
yeah.
to walk on.
That's
is
like
so funny.
Oh, can I say that's my favorite shot? So
can.
he passes out and he gets captured by who?
Cuervo Jones.
Yeah.
Oh, right, Cuervo. And
Yeah, Steve
like,
Buscemi shoots him with darts in his magic car.
yeah,
Oh,
and the
yeah.
president and their team are like, well, his tracker is out. He must be dead, or he's probably dead. And then Cuervo shoots this video like message to the president, and they just put him on a treadmill in the back, like the far back left of this shot, and he's like walking sarcastically. If that makes sense.
They kind of tie him to the treadmill and just turn it on, and he's just really kind of lumbering along.
I
very
guess he just woke
comfortably.
up.
It's such a funny visual. And
I
then
know.
Stacey Keach is like, look, there's Snake.
I knew he wasn't dead.
He's just in the background. But
was
what I
so
love,
funny.
why I love the character, though, when they were escaping from Bruce Campbell, the surgeon of Beverly Hills, Snake is full on ready to leave Valeria Golino, just
Yes.
still strapped to the gurney.
Yeah, he doesn't give a fuck.
He doesn't give a fuck.
He just met her.
Yeah, and then she's like, "Hey, save me! You'll lead me." And he's like, "Ugh," kind of reluctantly unties her. And
Then later he's sad when she dies.
this is the weirdest thing. So they're kind of walking along, they're talking, and then he kind of gives her the gun.
Oh, she has a great line where she's like, I was a Muslim in South Dakota, and then they made that illegal. I had to come here.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, very
Yeah.
prescient.
Yeah. She kind of like gives him directions, like go in this direction. He kind of gives her a gun as thanks and walks off. Right. 5 seconds later, she's like back in the movie again.
She comes around the corner and says, "It's me," right?
Snake, it's me.
Yeah.
She goes, Snake, and then he turns around and it's like, why did they even say goodbye? And then she just comes right back.
And they have a conversation, and
I
she
have to go
says,
pee.
Yeah.
and she says, hey, "This place isn't so bad."
When you think about it, and then he's immediately shot.
That's classic. That's yeah. You know what? I do find value in life.
I think
There was a good scene recently in a Harley Quinn cartoon that I watched where a character says that, where they're like, "Oh, I got brain cancer," and then they get shot and their head explodes, and someone's like,
my
"Whoa,
God.
that's an aggressive form of brain cancer."
It's pretty funny.
Yep. Watch Harley Quinn, available on DC Universe.
Wait,
this
did you-
episode is brought to you by
Harley Quinn, our sponsors today.
sponsors.
Who
Harley
has
Quinn.
DC Universe, the streaming service?
Yep. Let's continue moving on. So after he escapes, because he does escape and he runs into cool guy Peter Fonda.
Yeah, so this is the funniest thing. Peter Fonda's kind of introduced earlier in the movie, and as this surfer dude, he's got like a surfer gang, and he's like, "Hey man, stay off of our beach," and he's got kind of like radiation burns on his forehead.
Did you ever watch? Somebody told me this recently that like Peter Fonda used to do like it's the greatest hits of the '60s, man. Like he would do like infomercials at night, like selling these albums. What? Yeah.
Was he in his like Easy Rider outfit?
Yeah, guaranteed. Just like sunglasses, and it's like 1 a.m. in the morning where you're
Yeah.
like infomercials just play endlessly.
Also guaranteed, he was high.
Yeah, man.
He loves to smoke doobies.
Where am I? Only edibles.
Apparently, Breckin Meyer is one of the surfers.
Yeah, you said that. I never saw him.
Yeah, they don't have any. They only have like one shot of them.
No, I was denied my Breckenmeyer cameo.
Are you a big Breckenmeyer fan?
Well, he doesn't appear like in things anymore. I think he
he's-
just does voice acting now.
He's like Daniel Lewis. Like he's like, I pick my roles very carefully.
He's not going to move to Italy to become a cobbler.
I do like Breckenmeyer. I do.
Is he like a producer on Robot Chicken?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He doesn't need any.
And a writer.
What
And
else?
he does
He's
voice
like in
stuff.
Garfield, I guess. Or
Well,
is
those
he-
that's
movies are
right.
not.
Is he John Arbuckle?
Yeah, he is John Arbuckle. I think. Do people love him because he was in like Can't Hardly Wait? He was part of that teen cycle, right?
He wasn't in Can Hardly Wait.
Oh, I don't know.
He was in Clueless.
Clueless. Okay, yeah,
and then
that's
some
right.
other thing.
That's right.
Do you think Paul Rudd's like, ugh, it's Breckenmeyer again? Like, we only have room for one handsome friend, and that's Adam Scott.
Yeah. Adam Scott's kind of taken all his roles.
Breckenmeyer shows up, and he's like, I did Daniel Lewis, and I prepared this role. It's like, sorry, we made an offer to Adam Scott. It's like, Adam Scott? Paul Rudd's loser roommate?
He does. He's got Robot Chicken money.
Is Robot Chicken still
Yes,
on?
Yes,
it's
it is.
still
That's
on.
insane.
Yeah, I
wanna
just
say he's
discovered
like-
that recently.
He's like co-creator then with
Yeah,
Seth,
he is.
Seth
Him
Green.
and Seth Green, yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, they're rolling in some cash, man.
Do people still watch it? Like, I never see any clips from it or
I
anything.
just found out the other day it was still on. I haven't watched it in like 5 years.
Has there been a
Still
new
funny.
season every year?
There
Like,
has. Yeah.
I have no
At one
idea.
point, it took like a 2-year break, but then it's basically still been on the entire time.
I think the only one I've seen is like the Star Wars special or something
I think
like that.
the last one I saw was, I think they did like a DC Universe special one.
Okay.
There was a really funny joke where they all have to go to the funeral of Captain Carrot, who's an actual character, and Nathan Fillion playing the playing the Green Lantern is like, he's a bunny. Like, keep it controlled.
Well, I recently watched like last year's season, and it was like 50% Handmaid's Tale sketches.
Oh, Jesus.
Which I was like, interesting choice for Robot Chicken.
So they're like modern. I guess they've always been a little bit modern.
it spoofs modern shows and old like children things.
I'm gonna
too.
have to come and be like, I watch Robot Chicken and Family Guy now, and
Oh,
you're like,
no.
who are you? And I'm like, I'm one of them.
Well, at least you usually like see clips from them pop up online or something like, hey, there's this great skit, on the Star Wars special, blah, 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 blah. But you never see that anymore.
I don't see that at all anymore.
Exactly.
Which is kind of crazy. I mean, I guess the overhead is probably so low to make something like Robot Chicken.
Yeah, I guess
Also,
so.
that's something they probably do when they're not doing other movies and TV shows and
Yeah,
stuff.
because Breckenmeyer and Seth Green
Seth-
are very busy.
I think Seth Green is still. Anyway, let's get back to the movie. We have to talk about the worst looking scene in the movie, the surfing scene.
Okay, yeah.
so good though.
Yeah, I think like Steve Buscemi shoots Snake in a sewer, so he gets washed out onto
big
this,
wave.
this boulevard, and he meets up with Peter Fonda again, and it's like this big wave is coming crashing
We're
down.
gonna catch the tsunami, man.
He gives him a surfboard.
I could not believe my eyes. I couldn't believe how bad this looked.
Well-
And yes, it was funny, but I just was in shock.
I have a little movie that you should check out called "The World Is Not Enough," or is that no? Die Another Day.
Yes.
I haven't seen it.
Die Another Day has worse surfing footage than is in this movie.
I would say so.
no.
It's like
Well, Die Another Day is all CG.
it's all CG. This one is like a lot of composited
Yes.
elements, which do not work together.
No, they don't. But it looks like they shot like a pool.
It might have been like a scale model or something like that.
Because like Die Another Day has really funny shots of Pierce Brosnan, like it cuts to him like surfing. He's
Yeah.
like, whoa!
On a blue screen.
Which this one does have as well.
Yeah.
But because there's the real element behind it,
It's got
a little bit more
it's got that
charming.
digital camera shake,
Yes.
which is a dead giveaway.
It looks bad.
Yeah.
But what was it with the
it's
90s and
great.
surfing? It's like we got to put it in every movie.
No, it's like a California thing.
Yeah,
you know?
California.
Peter Fonda, he's like,
well, yeah, it is
California.
Escape from L.A. So got to get some surfing in there at some
That's right.
point, I guess.
Point Break was big around this time, I assume.
It's
Yeah.
like, you've seen Snake
Surf
play
ninjas?
basketball, but you
Yeah.
haven't seen Snake surf.
Yeah, all the LA things: plastic surgery, surfing, basketballs.
You're
Yeah,
right.
that's what all that stuff is.
The
gliding.
poster actually has Kurt Russell surfing. So this was like this is a
does.
selling
The set
point of
piece.
this movie.
I do
Yeah.
love the punchline to it, which is like Steve Buscemi's like driving beside him.
And he does a great double take.
Yeah, he's like, what? You gotta be kidding me! And then Kurt Russell like surfs onto Steve Buscemi's car.
After high-fiving or low-fiving Peter Fonda.
That's a gif you see all the time of them being like, yeah.
Hang 10.
And then Peter Fonda went on to die, I
Yeah,
assume.
probably crushed by a wave. Yeah, this is like long before they could do like water simulations and CG. So it was like all these sort of like practical
Yeah.
effects like composited together like really clunkily.
I mean, honestly, I'll take over a bunch of practical effects comped together shittily than just like a CG surfing scene.
Yeah. for sure.
but it looked really bad.
Oh, I was gonna say, what has been a good one that have done something similar? Return of Xander Cage has a great surfing sequence.
Yeah,
They're
they
on
just
their dirt bikes. Remember?
they just replaced his
right.
head and they shot a stunt person
yeah,
do it.
with like a Vin Diesel mask on.
Yeah.
I still have like Cinefex. This is like a visual effects magazine. And I think I have the one for Triple X, the first one.
Do you have the one for Escape from L.A. like the covers them surfing?
I don't think.
Okay.
I might actually. I'd have to look. It wouldn't be on the cover.
Okay.
So they have like 3 or 4 movies per per magazine. But I have the one for Triple X, and then I think he was riding a motorcycle in one scene in that movie, and they replaced him with a digital
Yes.
digital head. But so they had a motorcycle stuntman with a helmet on, and they said in order to get lighting reference and skin reference for Vin Diesel's head, they covered the motorcycle helmet with animal hide.
Ew.
Wait, so does like Vin Diesel in those scenes have like a big deformed head or something like that?
I mean, I think they painted it out and then they put it, but they was like, yeah.
That's
like,
weird.
They do that with action movies all the time. Like people on the set of Scott Pilgrim said that if you like turn a corner, you'd see like 4 guys with like melted Michael Cera masks.
Whoa.
It looks like Leatherhead like wearing Michael Cera's face.
So creepy.
The funniest one is in Terminator 2 during the culvert chase when he's driving. It was like that big jump that Arnold does on his motorcycle, and it's in slow motion, and you can see it being like making the jump, and it's a stuntman wearing an Arnold mask, and it looks slightly deformed.
So I want to talk about one character briefly, which is Pam Grier. I don't remember her character's name.
Hershey.
Hershey.
But previously known as, isn't it like
Carjack Malone.
Yeah, so this is a representation of a transgendered character, but not a good representation, I would say, because it has that thing that these movies always have, which he like goes to feel her groin.
You think so?
I know, it's a fake out. He's actually just feeling to see if she has a gun on her. But it's like, I love Pam Grier and she's great, but I really, really hated that they modulated her voice down because it sounds terrible.
Yeah, it does.
Like if they wanted her to have a deep voice, they should have just said talk lower or just don't do it at all because it sounded computery.
Do you think that like she sat at the premiere and it was like the special effects guys of the Thing where they're like, what? I mean, the Thing remake.
That's a good point. She probably didn't even know. Yeah.
Well, no, because Kurt Russell, her back is turned and she starts speaking and he's like, I know that voice.
Yeah.
And he's like, you fucked me over in Cleveland.
But what I'm saying is that like they didn't tell her they were going to change her voice until like she saw the movie.
And
like she was talking like Pam Grier.
But Pam Grier doesn't talk like this. Like,
No.
She's got a lower register
She sounds like
voice.
Pam Grier, though. But Kurt Russell's supposed to recognize the voice from across the room.
Where he's like, oh, the artificial voice that Carjack Malone used to have.
No, what I was saying before is just like not all men and women have high or low voices. There are many men who have high voices and women have low voices.
I have a very deep one, for instance.
I mean, on the level, it's not very good because it is made of joke, but then it's never mentioned again.
Yeah.
Like they don't make a punchline. So on the scale of Ace Ventura...
Yeah, it's better than that. I'll give it that.
Yeah, so which is not a high bar to...
But in the end of the movie, she gets unceremoniously burned, and it's never mentioned. He barely cares.
With Al Leong and Jeff Amata.
Yeah. That was weird that she did, because I kept waiting for her to just be like shot and like fall out of the helicopter. And it's like, did she just decide not to come in to shoot that stuff? Because it's like she just, a CG explosion just like matted over her.
And Snake is fine because he's got the fireproof jacket, but the president's daughter is next to him. She ain't got no fireproof jacket.
This is so funny, yeah. So Cuervo Jones like shoots a missile at the helicopter. Well, first of all,
we skipped
We skipped a really funny scene.
You're probably wondering how I got here. Let's go back.
So standing in the background behind Pam Grier, her henchman, Al Leong and Jeff Amata from Double Dragon.
Which we just had last episode.
Top action choreographers.
Yeah, Jeff Amata.
To this day.
Was a stunt coordinator.
Yeah, Jeff Amata, I think he choreographed the Bourne movies. And like he's one of the
Really?
guys. Yeah, he did.
Wow, so
Shit.
like basically like choreograph royalty.
Yeah, he did. And there's a fight near the end of the movie that's really good where Snake Plissken fights the
That's right.
the other guy. So
Cuervo Jones.
But so Snake Plissken meets Pam Grier and she's like, we need to get close to them. How will we do it? What do they say? It's like, we're going to ride the winds of hell. Or
How do you do that?
Hang gliders.
yes.
They have hang gliders. She lives on the Queen Mary, by the way.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
It's like an old ship in
It's
LA.
a real ship.
Yeah.
Oh, rest in peace, the ship that used to be in the Toronto harbor. What was it called?
Yeah.
Captain John's.
Captain John.
Oh, so, yeah.
Looks like that kind of.
Captain John's, the nautical nightmare. It was a restaurant. Yeah, which I've been to, by the way. I went to many times. So it was like this horrible old a seafood restaurant. It was on a boat docked in Toronto Harbor for, I don't know,
decades.
40 years or something like that. And it used to be, my parents would go to it all the time, and they would take me as a kid. Because it was like, they had a sign outside, the best seafood in town. It was like garbage.
Yeah.
It was like flash frozen seafood.
What? But Red Lobster?
Hey, Red Lobster's great.
I cannot eat seafood, so I wouldn't know. Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah.
But we
So
went,
sad.
I think it was like a few years ago, or maybe like 10 years ago, me and my friends actually went. We had a Christmas party we rented Captain John's.
And you're like,
As
hey, I'm
adults.
Snake Plissken.
Should have worn your Snake Plissken outfit.
But we showed up. It was like a theme party, so we all dressed as like in nautical uniforms, like sailors and captains and stuff. And it was like they hadn't changed the decor since the '60s, so like all the bathrooms are carpeted, and they had this like hideous shag carpet, like orange shag rug in the bathrooms.
You feel like someone was murdered on that boat. Oh, like the wife of William Randolph Hearst or something like that.
I think Captain John had an apartment on the boat.
Wait, did he still live there to that day?
He was serving us at the party.
What?
Yeah,
The real Captain John?
The real Captain John.
Wait, is it like Santa that there's like new Captain Johns that come around all the time?
It's like Menudo.
Yeah, wait, is there multiple Menudos?
No, as soon as they got to like, to be too old, they would replace with a younger. Yeah.
I don't even know
true.
who Menudo is.
They were like a kind of teen band back in the day.
Exactly.
They're like South American, I think.
Okay, let's get back to the hand gliding because it looks almost as bad as the surfing scene.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lesser scene only because they don't get to high five while they're hang gliding.
They don't. It doesn't match the background.
It's
not.
so funny.
It's not lit properly.
They're clearly on green screen and composited in. But they have a whole conversation scene. They're kind of like three of them are flying and having a conversation.
And Snake still
talks like that. April is like, they would not be able to hear one another.
Wait, we're getting near to the end of the movie. What was your favorite part, Colin?
The end of the movie.
So many.
No, this movie does have
poster above my bed.
The soundtrack is amazing.
Oh, so good.
I love it.
I wanted more of that John Carpenter techno, which I guess wasn't in vogue at the time.
Was it Shirley Walker?
It was Shirley Walker who
Okay.
co-wrote the score with it.
Right. So he obviously did some themes, like Snake's theme with the guitar and stuff like that.
And then Shirley Walker just kind of like orchestrated and built it out.
You can you can kind of hear some orchestration like during the action scenes.
Was she the main composer? Oh no, on Batman the animated series, because Danny Elfman wrote the theme, right?
Right.
And then she like came in and probably did the score of like
all
the episodes.
It said like music arrangement by Shirley Walker, so I think she conducted the orchestra or something.
Okay.
But soundtrack is amazing. Like I bought it as soon as I saw the movie.
Oh, you mean like the pop songs that are in it?
Yeah, like White Zombie.
Oh, I love White Zombie.
Yeah, all the bands that we mentioned earlier. It does have a pretty good soundtrack for very of the time.
No, this is the orchestra.
Oh, you're talking about the score. Okay.
Yeah, the John Carpenter.
He went out. He got 8-track, I assume. 1996.
Yeah, it was like reel to reel. No, it was like what was that Sony mini disc?
I don't know what that is.
It was in The Last Action Hero.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, ugh.
It was like a failed format. Everybody was like trying to. They're like the size of like 3.5 inch.
Remember when they did the GameCube and they had the little discs? And it's like, these are so annoying. I hate these.
They were tiny and weird.
Tiny CDs.
Tiny CDs.
Do we want to actually?
Much like the CDs in this movie.
I thought that's what you guys were talking about.
Kinda.
I guess like the whole plot is Cuervo Jones, this device that.
Yeah, we didn't even mention it.
Yeah, I know. What the hell?
Shut off all the electronics in the world.
Yeah, so it'll like send it's like a giant EMP. It's like these satellites in space can wipe out the electronics. So it'll send humanity back to the dark ages.
And the president wants it because with great power comes great responsibility. Cliff Robertson. No, he wants to shut down like Cuba and any enemies that are going to invade. They're going to invade the countries because they want to take them over.
Yeah, they're on their way to invade the U.S. So yeah, that's the kind of threat that
the president needs to stop, and he needs Snake Plissken to get that device, which the president's daughter stole. So Snake Plissken, Steve Buscemi, and Pam Grier, they hang glide in. They have themselves a big action scene. Then they escape in a helicopter that they're like, "Don't worry, it's bulletproof."
Where are they going? It's like the Happy Kingdom. It's obviously like Disneyland.
But do we want to ruin the end of this movie? Because the end is really good. And actually,
so good.
I was like, "This sucks," and then there's like a switcheroo, and I'm like, "Oh, this was awesome."
It's like a 1996, man, and if you haven't seen it by this point.
Hey, turn the podcast off now if you don't want to know the ending of Escape from L.A.
So for people that don't remember Escape from New York, it ends with Snake Plissken like destroying a tape that it would have brought together like world peace or something.
I think it was
like
the president was supposed to play it.
Yes.
I don't know what the hell it was again.
Some reason.
Yeah, he does an old switcheroo.
Yeah, and in this one, he does the most complicated switcheroo in the world.
There's so many switcheroos.
He plays like 8-dimensional chess, and like because everything he puts into play, So Steve Buscemi made a fake device that Snake Plissken knows is like, he's like, give me the real one. I know it's the fake one. I know you grabbed it. And then he puts a device in the president's daughter's
pocket,
without her knowing. And then he's like, get out, leave.
It's like the helicopter's crashing, so she kind of jumps for it. So she doesn't know that she's carrying the device.
Yes. And then Snake Plissken lands. Stacy Keach picks him up, and he's like, give us the device. We need to use it.
and he's like surrounded by soldiers.
Yeah.
And then, the president like punches in a code.
Yeah,
he
thinks they find the daughter, and they're like, "We know that this is the real one."
Okay,
yeah.
so
It's
Snake's
like, I knew you were gonna take
Snake's
the fake
holding
one.
it. They capture the daughter. Stacy Keach. He thinks back and he's like, "You're so predictable, Snake." He remembers in Escape from New York that he did the switcheroo because he obviously watched the movie.
Yes.
And he grabs the president's daughter. He looks in her pocket and it's like, "Oh, she's got the device. This is the real one."
Is there any check you can do to make sure it's the real one before you go on live TV?
Only way. They look identical, except the CD and the fake one didn't have a red dot.
Yeah, but they added a red dot with some nail polish.
Steve Buscemi uses some
Yeah.
nail polish and puts the little dot on.
And then, do they say they're going to kill Snake Plissken? I don't remember, but Snake Plissken, it's like, oh yeah, there's one thing you didn't think. I'm a hologram.
No, they shoot him, and then it's much just like in the Last
It's
Jedi.
like Total Recall.
It's like The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi.
Yeah, Total Recall. Am I the real one? Yes.
So it turns out he actually jumped out of the helicopter before it crashed and
So convoluted.
Wait,
created a VR version of
where's the
himself.
hologram coming from?
He's just like a yard away.
Yeah, because he's projecting it.
Yeah.
They're like, he needs to be within, and you see the little device that he's like being recorded into.
Yeah,
But
and
what is projecting it into?
I don't know.
Snake Plissken's like, I hope nobody touches me.
Stacy Keach is like, he's got to be within 50 yards or something like that. But then like Cliff Robertson tries to use it, and then he tries to like shut down Cuba, but it plays Map to the Stars Eddie's
Anything.
like
It's a cute moment.
And then
It's
Snake
really
Plissken
funny.
has a great line where he's like, if I give it to you, you win.
Yeah.
If I give it to them, they win.
yeah, and
And then he just shuts down the whole planet.
yeah, it's so fucking awesome.
and then he smokes a cigarette.
Yeah, because he's kind of like, he's like, I just want to be left alone.
Exactly.
And then he just like shuts down the whole planet.
He's very antisocial.
And then you hear, I don't know if he says it or it's like overdubs, like, welcome to the human race.
Yeah, that's over the it's over the
Yeah.
credits, which is great because like
It's a great
Stacey
ending.
Keach gives him like a pack of matches at the beginning,
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
and he's like,
Impeccable
what are, he goes,
screenwriting.
"What are those for?" And he's like, "Oh, you never know. You can
he
use
does
matches."
he does use them at one point during the movie. He lights the
sticks a
gas
rag.
tank on
That's right.
fire.
Oh, that's right. When
Yeah.
he's doing the Molotov cocktail. So I think we've come to the conclusion: Escape from L.A. arguably one of the best movies ever.
Like I said, it's a really good bad movie. It's definitely like up there as far as like bad movies go. Like it's almost good. There's good things in it, like this, like what we just mentioned, the ending, but the tone is really kind of
Campy.
campy, and you have to be on board for that.
Yeah, I think if you're coming off of Escape from New York and then you go to watch this movie, it's very jarring. It's like, oh my god, this is like it's almost like
It's like an Evil Dead 2.
yeah, it's like a more tongue-in-cheek kind of satirical take on the first one.
My favorite bit of trivia is that like John Carpenter and Kurt Russell love this movie. So
Yeah.
if you go to like Wikipedia, they're like, I think it's 10 times better than Escape from New York.
I'm
and he's
surprised.
like, people didn't like The Thing when it came out. He's like, I'm just waiting for them to catch up with Escape from L.A.
Yeah, he said, give it time, give it time.
I don't think people can get over the bad CG.
You know what? It's coming out on Blu-ray recently from Shout Factory. They're doing a big special edition. So,
Really?
Yes, they are. So it's going to get I guess a renaissance.
Oh, now you
might need to pick that up.
can see all those digital matte paintings. Glorious.
What if he went in and like George Lucas it and like tried to make it better?
The submarine looks awesome now.
He's like, yeah, I got a miniature and we just comped it in. It's weird they didn't just comp a submarine in, and it's like a full CG one.
But then I saw, you see the end credits, and it's just all these like
Miniature houses?
miniature places, and they said like model helicopter.
Well, probably is it model helicopter CG at the end, or is it
I don't know.
maybe it's so good?
all the helicopters
we don't know.
look
Yeah.
so CG.
Okay, so any other last thoughts on Escape from LA?
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
check it
covered
out.
it.
Definitely check it out. It's on iTunes. You can rent it. I'm sure one day maybe we'll get to some other bad John Carpenter movies, or are they bad? Who knows?
Vampires, Memoirs of an Invisible Man,
The aforementioned
Ghost
Ghost,
of
Ghosts of
Mars.
Mars.
The Ward. That's
Yeah.
not a fun bad
The
movie.
Ward
though.
is one that I
I
heard.
remember being very, very dull.
Yes. All right. So yeah, that's the show, right? April. Nothing else.
Nope. But if you want to donate to the Patreon, we're at we're at patreon.com/no such thing as a bad movie. And if you donate at the $5 level, you can get a little bonus episode every 2 weeks. And the next one is going to be about a movie that not a lot of people are talking about. It's Tross.
Trost.
Trost.
Is
You
that
mean,
a sequel to Tusk?
do you mean
Yes.
Tron?
Ooh, Tron Legacy?
You know what? Maybe I'll just leave it at that and let people can figure out what I'm talking about.
T-R-O-S.
What could that stand
Trusk.
for?
It's like Fist, the Sylvester Stallone, Norman Jewison film.
Yeah. And if you want to email us, we're at no such thing as a bad movie at gmail.com. And our Twitter is at no such thing pod. And my personal Twitter is at April Atmansky.
You can follow me on Twitter at DeCloux, DECLOUX, and then the letter J. On Letterboxd, just Justin DeClue, or listen to me every week on the Important Cinema Club podcast.
And I am Sergeant Zima on Twitter, SGTZIMA.
And I'm also on Letterboxd too. And that's it for this week. Stay cool. What's a good like Snake Plissken line?
I don't know.
Fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you.
I don't know.
I'm Snake Plissken.
Yeah, I was going to say, because if you set us up for our names, I was going to go, Justin, call me Justin. DeClue.
I love that he does the opposite thing.
Yeah.
So if people call him Snake, he says the name's Plissken.
Yeah.
And then if people call him Plissken, he says, call me Snake.
Yeah,
my
because
God,
at the
he's
end of the
just
movie,
so
Stacey Keach is
cool.
like,
Yeah.
what are you doing, Snake? And he's like, call me Plissken.
Yeah, it's like, he won't let anybody call him by the right name.
So cool. Anyway, I'm April Atmansky.
I'm Justin DeClue.
I'm Snake.
And there's no such thing as a bad movie.
Call me.
It's not Christmas, Colin. You shouldn't wear your costume.
The name's Cunningham.